All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always good to be back.
Today, we're going to tackle something that's pretty critical for anyone who's working with cranes.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're listening, you're probably a crane operator yourself.
Most likely.
Or maybe you're working towards recertification.
Keeping those skills sharp.
Yeah, exactly. Or even if you're just hoping to get in the cab one day.
Yeah, aspiring operators definitely need this.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget all the safety professionals out there, making sure everyone gets home safe every night.
The unsung heroes.
That's right. So we're talking about counterweights today.
Oh, yeah, counterweight.
Might seem like a pretty basic concept at first.
Yeah, you see those big concrete blocks and think, what's the big deal, right?
Exactly. But we're going a little deeper today.
A little deeper.
Oh, yeah. We're going straight to the source of the manufacturer guidelines.
The Crane Operator's Bible.
I like that, the Crane Operator's Bible. So, I mean, you see those massive concrete blocks they use for counterweights, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever stopped to think about, like, the science behind them?
There's a whole lot of engineering that goes into those blocks.
And I think that's what's so fascinating about this topic. It's not just about, stacking a bunch of concrete on the back.
Oh, absolutely. Not every block is carefully calculated to ensure the crane's stability.
So it's really a precisely engineered system.
Yeah, and a core concept here is something called backward stability.
Backward stability.
You've probably seen those diagrams in your training manual.
Oh, yeah, with the arrows and the different forces.
Right, exactly. It's all about understanding how the counterweight acts as a force to prevent the crane from tipping over backwards.
So kind of like a giant lever.
Exactly. You got to imagine the crane as a giant lever with the counterweight on one side and the load on the other.
And when the crane lifts and swings the load, that center of gravity shifts.
That's right. And the counterweight is there to make sure that shift doesn't tip the whole thing over.
Got it. So balance is key.
Balance is everything in crane operation.
And the guidelines, they're very clear about not messing with the manufacturer's specifications.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, operating a crane with like an unauthorized counterweight, that's a huge deal, right?
Absolutely huge deal. You're talking career-ending lawsuits, potentially even.
Wow. So we're not just talking about, a slap on the wrist here.
No, we're talking serious stuff.
Yeah. And, I think it'd be great to hear from your experience, like, what's the biggest misconception you've encountered when it comes to counterweights?
I think a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking that more weight equals more stability.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, if a little bit of counterweight is good, then a lot must be better.
Right? Like, why not just be extra safe?
Yeah, but that's just not true.
Really?
Adding extra weight beyond what the manufacturer specifies can actually increase the risk of an accident.
Wow, that's counterintuitive. Why would that be?
Well, you have to remember that cranes are designed to operate within specific limits. And when you add too much weight, you're putting enormous stress on the crane's components.
I see.
It's like overloading a truck. Eventually, something's going to give.
So it can actually lead to structural failure.
Exactly. And of course, it also messes with that backward stability we were talking about.
So it's a delicate balance.
It really is.
Now, what about those situations where adjustments might be necessary, like during crane assembly?
Yes. During assembly, things get a bit more complicated.
Right, because you've got different boom configurations, different load distributions.
And the lifting environment itself can be much more complex.
So I imagine the calculations for the counterweights get a lot trickier.
Definitely. But the manufacturer provides very specific instructions on how to adjust counterweights for those scenarios.
And following those instructions is crucial.
Absolutely crucial.
So it's kind of like this constant balancing act, taking all these variables into account.
That's a great way to put it.
And I think that's a really key takeaway for all of us, whether we're the ones operating the crane, inspecting it, or even just working on a job site where cranes are present.
Yeah.
Understanding those counterweights, they're not just some random chunks of concrete.
They're a vital part of the safety equation.
Right. And knowing how they work and why they're so important could literally save lives.
Absolutely. And ignorance is not bliss when it comes to crane safety.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a final thought. We've talked about following the manufacturer guidelines. That's crucial.
Definitely.
But it's also important to remember that every job site is different.
Right. Every lift is unique.
Exactly. You've got wind conditions, ground conditions, the radius of the load. All these factors can impact stability.
And a good operator needs to be able to assess those factors and make informed decisions.
So it's not just about blindly following a set of rules.
It's about understanding the principles behind those rules.
Exactly. So stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe out there.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Until next time.
See you.